On August 31st, 1997, a terrible car crash happened in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel in Paris that claimed the life of Princess Diana. Now, Xavier Gourmelon, a French firefighter who was one of the first to arrive on that fateful night, has finally stepped forward to share what he heard in those last haunting words. What did the princess say to the firefighter, and how did Xavier's discovery about her death challenge what people believed? Join us as we explore the firefighter's surprising story about the princess's death, Diana and Charles's marriage. Lady Diana Spencer grew up surrounded by nobility. Her family home was just a short distance from the royal estate at Sandringham, so she often found herself in the company of the royal family from a young age. Although she wasn't too fond of school and didn't shine academically, she later worked a few simple jobs in London, like being a nanny and a teacher's assistant, trying to live an ordinary life. But fate had something much greater in store for her. When Diana was just 16 years old, her life quietly began to change in ways no one could have predicted. Her kind nature, graceful manners, and humble charm caught the attention of someone very important, Prince Charles, the heir to the British throne. At the time, Charles was actually dating Diana's older sister Sarah, but something about Diana stayed in his mind. On July 29, 1981, in a grand and unforgettable ceremony at St. Paul's Cathedral, Diana and Charles were married. The event was watched by nearly 750 million people around the world. It was described as a fairy tale wedding, the kind every young girl dreams of. Diana became a princess overnight. Diana often felt that she didn't deserve her new royal title. She struggled with feelings of unworthiness and deep sadness. To make things worse, the media never left her alone. Photographers chased her everywhere, snapping pictures of her and her family. Even in her most private moments, it was exhausting and overwhelming. Out in public, people believed that Charles and Diana had the perfect marriage, but inside the palace, things were falling apart. Diana battled eating disorders, depression, and emotional breakdowns. At the same time, it was later discovered that both she and Charles had been unfaithful. Diana found it hard to keep smiling in front of the cameras when her heart was breaking behind the scenes. The final blow came when Charles rekindled his romance with his former girlfriend, Camilla Parker Bowles. This time, openly. Diana was deeply hurt. Then came a moment that shocked the world. In an interview with journalist Martin Bashir, Diana bravely opened up about her painful experiences. She admitted that there were 3 of us in this marriage, referring to Camilla. She also revealed her struggles with depression and bulimia, and how alone she had felt when trying to get help. That interview changed everything. Soon after, Diana and Charles separated for good. Their divorce was finalized in 1996 after being apart for 4 years. Though Diana received an outpouring of sympathy from the public, her sons, William and Harry, were reportedly upset that their private family issues had been exposed. The end of the marriage was hardest on Diana. According to reporters, she became more withdrawn, kept a small circle of friends, and took time away from the spotlight. But even through all the pain, Diana began to rediscover herself. Her romantic life slowly blossomed once again, and she found strength in helping others, becoming a beloved figure around the world, not just as a princess, but as a kind and compassionate human being. What was Princess Diana's love life really like? Let's dive in to know more about her relationships. Diana's romantic relationships. When Princess Diana was still young and very beautiful, many men were said to be in love with her. She was rumored to have romantic relationships with people like her bodyguard, Paul Manaki, and an army officer named James. She also had to end her friendship with her childhood friend, James Gilby, a car dealer, after a private phone call between them was leaked. The media went wild over it. Later, when British-Pakistani heart surgeon Hasnat Khan entered Diana's life, things seemed to calm down. Their romance was kept very private. Diana wanted to escape from the spotlight, and she told friends she had never met anyone like Khan before. She was instantly charmed by him when she visited the Royal Brompton Hospital with a friend. Hasnat didn't like all the attention that came with dating one of the most famous women in the world. Diana suggested a secret wedding, but Khan thought they should move to Pakistan to live a quieter life. Diana seriously considered it. She even told her close friend, former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan, about her love for the surgeon. Imran later said he believed Diana truly loved him. But the relationship ended around the same time. Diana accepted an invitation to vacation in France with Egyptian billionaire Mohammed Al Fayed. Diana first met Mohammed Al Fayed and Prince Charles at a polo match in 1986. Later, Diana and her sons, Princes William and Harry, went to stay at Mohammed's villa. Reports say Diana began to fall for Mohammed's son, Dodi. At a sudden press meeting, Diana told reporters that she had a surprise for them. Sadly, her words would turn out to be tragically true. Dodi, who had admired Diana from afar for a long time, had already set his sights on her before his father invited her to France. Dodi was a film producer who worked on movies like Hook, Chariots of Fire, and The Scarlet Letter. His relationship with Diana quickly grew stronger during those last few weeks of their lives. After Diana returned to London, she ended her 2-year relationship with Hasnat Khan, whom she had once called Mr. Wonderful. Hasnat had warned her that the new relationship would only bring pain. He didn't trust Dodi and felt they weren't right for each other. Diana was heartbroken that she and Khan didn't work out, but she had already chosen to be with Dodi. Even though Dodi was engaged to American model Kelly Fisher at the time, he fell deeply in love with Diana. He tried to impress her by sending expensive gifts like exotic fruits, a Cartier watch, and enough flowers to fill her room. Diana seemed ready to start something new with him. Dodi was known as a gentle playboy who had dated celebrities like Brooke Shields and Julia Roberts. According to Vanity Fair, he planned to buy a ring for Diana. Though Diana told her friend Rosa Monckton that she only planned to wear the ring on her right hand and maybe make Khan jealous, Dodi's father believed it was an engagement ring. Whether it was meant for marriage or not, Diana and Dodi were happy to be together. Still, opinions differed on how serious the relationship really was. In late July 1997, the couple decided to sail to Sardinia. Being such a high-profile couple, they were constantly followed by paparazzi. In August, Diana went to Bosnia for an anti-landmine event, but soon photos of her hugging Dodi on his yacht were everywhere. After their trip to Sardinia, they returned to France, ready to take their next step. This time, they went to Paris to stay at the Hotel Ritz, which belonged to Dodi's father. According to the Daily Mirror, Dodi went out to buy the ring while Diana waited in their suite. They planned to have a quiet dinner at the fancy restaurant Benoit, but paparazzi made it impossible. Around 30 photographers followed them, so they returned to the Ritz to eat in peace. Even at the hotel, Dodi worried that some people nearby might be paparazzi in disguise, so the couple decided to go back to their suite. Later, they planned to spend the night at Dodi's luxurious apartment, but since they had been followed earlier, they believed the photographers were still waiting outside. That's when they came up with a plan, a final move to escape the press. Henry Paul, the hotel's assistant head of security, was involved in the plan even though he wasn't working that night. He was called in to drive Dodi, Princess Diana, and her bodyguard, Trevor Rees-Jones, to Dodi's home. Paul and the others would leave through the back exit in a rented black Mercedes-Benz, while 2 fake cars would leave from the front of the hotel to distract the photographers. They got into the car shortly after midnight, and Paul drove off quickly. However, the paparazzi had somehow found out about the plan and were chasing the car. Rees-Jones sat in the front seat next to Paul. Later, during an investigation, it was revealed that the photographers, who Paul had clashed with outside the hotel, tried to get him to slow down, but he didn't. The Mercedes kept going at about 65 miles per hour. Just 3 minutes after leaving the hotel, the car crashed as it entered the Pont de l'Alma tunnel. Since there were no paparazzi close enough to cause the crash, Paul was found mainly responsible for the tragedy. It was discovered that he had taken prescription drugs and had a blood alcohol level over 3 times the legal limit. But did Princess Diana give up immediately? Let's find out. The last words of Diana. The car carrying Diana hit a pillar that supported the roof, then swerved left and crashed into the tunnel wall. Paul was killed instantly in the violent accident. When the motorbike chasing the paparazzi arrived, they didn't try to help the survivors, they just took photos of the wreck. Luckily, emergency services were soon called. Firefighters from a nearby station arrived quickly. Xavier, the officer on duty, led the team that night. Now, more than 20 years later, he shared what he and his team saw and did during the tragic crash involving one of the most famous couples in the world. Xavier said the car was badly destroyed, but they treated it like any other road accident. They started working right away. checking who was alive and who needed help. When he reached the car, Xavier saw that the driver was already dead and couldn't be saved. As an experienced firefighter, he stayed calm and did what he was trained to do: help the survivors. To him, this seemed like another traffic accident, often caused by speeding or drunk driving. Sadly, Dodi, who was sitting in the back of the car, was also badly hurt and had already suffered a heart attack. He died at the scene after being pulled from the wreck. Paramedics later confirmed the time of death. Bodyguard Rhys Jones was seriously injured, especially his face, but he survived. Even though he was in pain and danger, his main concern was Princess Diana. He kept asking for her, crying, "Where is she?" Xavier's team, who didn't speak English, told him to stay still and promised to help everyone. Rhys Jones had broken every bone in his face. Doctors had to use family photos to rebuild it, using 150 titanium plates while he was in a coma for 10 days. His survival was a miracle. He later told his story in a book titled Diana, The Crash and the Survivor, and had legal issues with Dodi's father, who pressured him to remember every detail. Rhys Jones was the only survivor and later became the head of security at a company called Astrioka. Xavier, on the other hand, didn't recognize Diana at first. To him, she was just a mysterious blonde woman. He said she was awake and had her eyes open in the back seat, which gave him hope that she would be okay. She was able to move a little, but she needed urgent medical care. As he helped move her from the car, Diana grabbed his hand. Xavier didn't know she was Princess Diana until a paramedic told him after she was in the ambulance. Diana reportedly said something that might have been her last words. "My God, what happened?" Xavier didn't say if he responded to her. He and his team worked hard to save Diana and Rhys Jones, but the situation was very serious. Xavier gave Diana oxygen and stayed with her as she was taken out. Because there was no wreckage to cut through, they moved quickly. But while being carried to the ambulance, Diana had a heart attack. Xavier said he massaged her heart, and after a few seconds, she started breathing again. He felt hopeful that she would survive. Xavier noticed Diana wasn't bleeding much, except for a small cut on her right shoulder. She didn't seem badly hurt. This gave them confidence that she could recover. They thought they had saved her from worse injuries. Xavier told the Sun that he believed Diana would survive. Everyone had high hopes when she was loaded into the ambulance. She looked stable and ready for treatment. At the hospital, doctors did everything they could to save her. They tried to revive her several times, but sadly, she passed away from internal injuries. These included a torn vein in her lung and damage near her heart. Xavier kept quiet about what happened that night for 20 years, until after he retired. He told The Sun in an interview that he still remembers every moment of that night in August and thinks about it every year. It was an unforgettable and deeply emotional event for the firefighter who had heard the princess's final words. So, how was Princess Diana laid to rest? Let's find out. Princess Diana's funeral. After Princess Diana's death, the public reacted with deep sadness and emotion. People were invited to sign a book of condolences at St. James's Palace in London. A similar book was also available at the British Embassy in the United States. At Harrods department store, all 11,000 light bulbs were turned off and stayed off until after her funeral. Women from the Royal Voluntary Service and the Salvation Army helped people who were waiting in long lines along the mall throughout the night. More than 1 million flower bouquets were placed outside her home at Kensington Palace. However, the public was later asked to stop bringing flowers to her family estate, Althorpe, because the number of people and flowers near the roads was becoming a safety concern. By September 10th, the pile of flowers outside Kensington Gardens was over 5 feet deep in some places, and the bottom flowers had started to rot. People waited quietly in line to sign the condolence book and leave gifts. Some gave champagne, teddy bears, and fresh flowers. Diana's family received many cards, handwritten messages, and poems. Her funeral was held on September 6th at Westminster Abbey, and around 3 million people came to London to watch or take part. Huge crowds gathered outside the Abbey and in Hyde Park, where they watched the service on big screens and listened through loudspeakers. Many guests represented the charities Diana supported. Important guests included US First Lady Hillary Clinton, French First Lady Bernadette Chirac, and celebrities like opera singer Luciano Pavarotti and pop stars George Michael and Elton John. Elton John performed a special version of his song Candle in the Wind, renamed Goodbye England's Rose, which became the best-selling single of all time, with over 33 million copies sold. The normal rules were broken when people clapped after Earl Spencer's speech. In his speech, he strongly criticized the media and indirectly blamed the royal family for how Diana was treated. About 31.5 million people in the UK watched the funeral on TV. Around the world, about 2.5 billion people watched, with the broadcast translated into 44 languages. After the ceremony, Diana's coffin was taken by hearse to Althorpe. Mourners threw flowers along the entire route, and even cars on the opposite side of the highway stopped out of respect. She was buried in a private ceremony on a small island in a lake within Althorpe's garden. Like other British nobles, her coffin was lined with lead and weighed about 250 kilograms. Diana wore a black dress by designer Catherine Walker, black stockings, and held a rosary in her hands. This rosary was a gift from Mother Teresa, given to her just a day before the accident. Later, a visitor center was opened at Althorpe, with a display about Diana and a walking path around the lake. All money raised from these activities went to the Diana, Princess of Wales Memorial Fund. So, how did the world respond when Princess Diana passed away? Let's take a closer look. Diana's global tributes. After the heartbreaking news of Princess Diana's death, a wave of sorrow swept through London and quickly spread across the world. In just an hour, thousands of people gathered outside Buckingham Palace, many holding flowers and bouquets. Soon after, flowers began to pour in from all over. The BBC lowered its flags to half-mast, a traditional sign of respect when a member of the royal family passes away. On radio and television, the British national anthem, God Save the King, played solemnly as the country came to terms with the loss of their beloved princess. Poet Ted Hughes wrote a touching tribute in her memory. Sporting events across the UK were postponed, and even across the ocean in the United States, people were deeply affected. On September 5th, more than 14,000 people marched through the streets of San Francisco in honor of Diana's tireless work supporting AIDS victims. In Los Angeles, nearly 2,500 people transformed a baseball field into a glowing sea of candles, a peaceful shrine to her legacy. Back in Paris, the city where the tragic car crash occurred, thousands flocked to both the crash site and the hospital where Diana had died. They left heartfelt notes, candles, and mountains of flowers. Some even tried to visit the Ritz Hotel, where Diana had stayed that fateful night. On the night before her funeral, around 300 members of the British community in Paris gathered for a special memorial service. In Egypt, the homeland of Dodi Fayed, who died alongside Diana, crowds visited the British Embassy in Cairo to leave their condolences and sign memorial books. The grief was global. Many actors, musicians, and other celebrities publicly blamed the paparazzi for chasing Diana's car and criticized their reckless behavior. In Paris, a sculpture called the Flame of Liberty was unofficially turned into a memorial for Diana since it stood near the tunnel where she died. In 2004, Queen Elizabeth II opened the official Diana, Princess of Wales Memorial Fountain in Hyde Park, London. And in 2021, Diana's sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, came together to unveil a statue of their mother in the sunken garden at Kensington Palace, a place Diana had loved. What do you think about the surprising revelation shared by the firefighter who heard Princess Diana's last words? Let us know your answer in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe.